Today we're going to talk about musical notation, which is part 1 of chapter 1. The staff are the 5 lines and 4 spaces that music is written on. So these are the lines from bottom to top: first line, second line, third line, fourth line, fifth line. Spaces are in between those lines: 1, 2, 3, and 4 spaces. The lower the notes are placed on the staff, the lower they sound. The higher the notes are up on the staff, the higher they sound. We think of pitch as being how high or low a note sounds. How high is not how loud you turn it, or how low, turn that volume, turn it lower. No, that's louder and softer. Pitch is high or low. Okay, we name our notes from the bottom to the top, and we also read them from left to right, just like we read a sentence in a book. And the musical alphabet is made up of the letters A through G. From there, it just repeats. So after G, we would have another A. So on the piano, and we'll learn those piano keys later on, we only have on the white keys A, B, C, D, E, F, and G, and then it just keeps on repeating up and down the piano. We'll talk about that later on if that's confusing. For now, what we're going to focus on are the treble clef lines, and we'll get to the bass clef lines and spaces in a little bit. So here's our treble clef. It kind of looks like a cursive S. The treble clef are the notes above middle C on the piano or in a high pitch. First, we're going to talk about the line notes. So you'll notice these notes have a line going through the middle of them. These are what we call the line notes. From the bottom to the top, we have E, G, B, D, and F. And the common sentence that you'll hear to memorize for those line notes is every good boy does fine. I've also heard every good boy deserves fudge, or Elvis's guitar broke down Friday, whatever helps you remember. In between those lines, we have the space notes. Okay, I told you that already. So the space notes are in between those lines, and we have F, A, C, and E. So that spells face. So just remember space, face for the treble staff. Okay, so here's the entire treble staff with the lines and the spaces. So that bottom line is E, first space would be F, second line is G. Then remember, in music we start over. A, B, C, D, E, F. We always go line, space, line, space, line, space. Those are the notes as they are in order. Okay? So next we're going to talk about the bass clef and the line notes in the bass clef. Here's what the bass clef looks like. These are the notes below middle C, so these are the lower pitches. So instruments that play in lower ranges would read the bass clef, or males who sing in a lower range would read the bass clef. All right, so the line notes in the bass clef, we have a new sentence to remember. Good boys do fine always, or G, B, D, F, A. I've also heard good boys deserve fudge always. So these are the line notes. Now, next we're going to do the space notes. Before we proceed, I want you to think about, if you don't know yet, what is this first space going to be? If this bottom line is G, in music, remember what happens after G. Or think about, if that second line is B, what letter in the alphabet comes before B? So what's that first space going to be? Let's see if you got it right. Okay, so here are the bass space notes. What's that first space? A. Did you say A? If you did, you are correct. If not, just memorize this sentence for the spaces. So the sentence for the space notes in bass clef is all cows eat grass. So the spaces are A, C, E, and G. Here's what they look like all next to each other, the entire bass staff. So we have G on that bottom line, because remember the sentence for the lines was good boys do fine always. Next comes our A for all cows eat grass. B, C, D, E, F, G. Top line is A. Next we would have a B, a C, etc. But we'll get to those later on. All right, here's what it looks like when you have the entire grand staff, which is both the treble clef on the top and the bass clef on the bottom, because sometimes you're going to have music that has high notes and low notes at the same time. When you put it all together, you call it the grand staff. It's usually joined on the left-hand side by a brace. Now here's two different styles of braces. This first one on the left is kind of curvy. Second one over here is a little maybe fancier looking. Now we think of the grand staff as having 11 lines altogether because of this middle C over here that is the kind of dividing line. In that middle C always has a line through the middle of it, so that's our 11th line. So the top 5 lines, bottom 5 lines, that's 10. This middle C with a line through it makes up 11. Okay, and we'll talk more about middle C because that does not relate to the Every Good Boy Does Fine, etc. You can just memorize that kind of separately. But we'll talk about middle C when we get to the notes that are above the staff, in the middle of these two staves, and at the bottom of the staff down here, because there are obviously way more notes than just the notes here on the lines and spaces. If you think about how many keys there are on the keyboard, there are lots more high notes and low notes to still talk about. Okay, and the last thing says here that keyboard music is written on a grand staff because when someone plays the piano, they generally are playing high notes up here, low notes down here. Same as choir music. Girls would sing up in their treble clef ranges, boys would sing down here in the bass clef range, and if they're singing together, there would be notes in both staves at the same time. All right, that's as far as we're going to go today. So from here, go ahead and proceed to your homework assignment and email me if you have any questions.